I could see in the corner of my room a black entity in the top right corner of my room, and it was hanging there in the corner of the wall with its arms and legs back behind itself, kind of perched in the corner, showing its teeth towards me. And I knew that it was a demon. I knew for certain it was a demon, and it terrified the life out of me. The next night came, and I could see more than one. I could see a handful of them. And then the next night came, and I could see even more, and the next night even more, and so on, until it got to a point to where it was as if my entire house was full of these things that I could see. And I became so frightened that I began wetting the bed at night. That's how terrified I was. Staying up all night underneath my sheets because I couldn't fall asleep because I was that terrified. And the whole time I'm still using. So finally one night comes, and I've had all I could take. And I felt the will to live just leave my body. And it felt as though I was having a heart attack. And somehow I just absolutely knew that I was about to die. I just felt it coming. And I think when you feel death coming, you know, just like same as you know you're alive, you know when you're dead or when you're dying. It's just that aware. You become that aware to the situation. All of your senses are heightened. And so I'm laying in bed, and I'm certain that I'm about to have a heart attack and die. And so for fear of my wife waking up the next morning and finding my body next to her in bed, I decided that I would roll out of bed, and there's a portal that's opening up above my bed. And in the portal, I'm looking up into it, and I can see demons just crawling tooth and nail over each other, trying to come through the portal to get to me in my bedroom. And there was already a bunch of them in my bedroom, but they were all like stuck to the walls and not like moving. They were just like perched, just waiting. And I was on my hands and knees at the foot of my bed, and I felt it come. And it was like, this is my last breath. And I drew it in, and then time stood still. Everything just completely stopped. And the walls in front of me became translucent, and I could see right through the walls. I could see through my entire house. And I looked, and I saw my children in bed, and I thought to myself, there's no way that I can leave my kids in this situation. And I cried out to God. I cried out to Jesus without saying it out loud. In my heart cried out. It's just a known feeling when you're around him. He's very familiar. Now I'm still on my hands and knees, and he has a light protruding from him. He wasn't in the flesh, so there was no physical form of him there that I could touch physically, but the spirit of him was there, and it was in the image of his flesh, and light was coming through him. And I assume that that's the Holy Spirit, the light of the Holy Spirit that flows through him, and that light shined on me. And when it did, every thought of fear, every memory of pain, it all fled my body. I couldn't remember anything leading up to that moment as far as like my fear of the demons and everything. And in that same moment, as the light spread through the room and covered me, when it reached the demons, they fled. They took off in every direction. They fled. And it took them just a split second to go from like where I could see them to they were gone at a distance further than I could see. And I was seeing through the walls, so I saw them like leave my house and like shoot across town, and like it was wild. And so there I am on my hands and knees in the presence of the Lord, and he places his right hand on my shoulder, and he says to me, without speaking out loud, he says, "Fear not, my son, and rise, for I am with you now, as I've always been and always will be." And I didn't have the strength to get up onto my feet just yet. And he told it to me again, and then one more time he said it. And on the third time he said it, it was almost as if like I still didn't have the strength to stand up, but my body did. It was almost as if his words were like some kind of commandment to my body, and my body obeyed what his direction was to my body. He told my body to stand up, and my body stood up. I don't feel like it was me that stood myself up. And I turned around and I looked at him from head to toe, and he said, "Follow me." At which point he took me to heaven above. And when we got up there, it was weird because I knew that my body was still in my bedroom, but I could feel my spirit, like my essence of myself, not in my body. It was completely out of the body experience. And in that moment, I had a life review. And in a single second, my entire life review happened. And I relived my entire life from the first breath to the last breath. And that goes for every emotion, every thought, every feeling that I ever had. I relived it all. And when I came out the inside of that, I was standing there and I knew all of my deeds. I could remember every word I'd ever said. I could remember every deed that I'd ever done, good and bad. And I looked up, and when I looked up, I saw my friends and my family standing before me, in front of me, and above them was their friends and their family members, and above them was their friends and their family members, and so on and so forth, until it went all the way to the top of this room that I was in, to where it was just so far away that it was just out of sight. There's that many people. I knew that just as I had lived my life review, that everyone that was standing there, they had all watched it as well, because there were some people there that weren't so happy with me. Things that I had said behind their back, things that I had done without telling them, lies that I told, things like that. They all were known now to all of the people that I hid them from my entire life. My life review occurred again. It happened a second time, and the second time it happened, it occurred for me as though I was in their body, experiencing the actions that I did towards them, but in their point of view, and feeling their emotions and their pain and everything that I caused them to feel. And so I felt all the joy that I caused, and I felt all the pain that I caused. And I came out the backside of that, and I opened my eyes, and everybody was there. They were not happy. And in that moment, I burst into flames, and I began to burn, and I was screaming out loud because of the pain and the agony. And everybody slowly but surely covered their ears, covered their eyes, and turned around, turned their back towards me, as if they couldn't stand the sight of watching my body burn.